Go is a book of poetry. And we're going to start off the conversation with letting you guys know a little bit about Miss Carie. She is a Southern gal, born and raised in the South, correct? Yes. Even though she lives in San Diego. She is a military veteran of 11 plus years, U.S. Marine Corps.
Absolutely.
Am I getting it right that the Corps just had a birthday?
They are about to on the 10th, yes.
About to. I'm a little early, but hoorah.
Yeah.
For your service. We got a veteran group here who joins in and reviews our chats, and they love it when we bring in female veterans doing their thing. Hey, who does it better than we do, right?
Nobody. I was just going to say that. Nobody does.
No, nobody, right? We're going to kick this off with a few questions. I want you to do what you do. Feel free to express yourself. There's no censors here. Yeah. And so we want to give you free rein to let go.
Absolutely.
See what I did there?
That's what it is, right? That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. So are we ready to do this little Q&A, madam?
Let's go. I'm ready. I'm ready as I'm going to ever be.
All right. So let's start off nice and easy with an icebreaker question here. How long have you been writing?
Oh gosh. So I can remember writing my first poem, and this is crazy. Most people don't believe this, but I was 8 years old. And I had a crush on the boy across the street. And I wrote a poem about it.
Was it a poem or a rap? Because back then we all thought we could rap.
No, I was so not. I know, that's so funny. I was so not the rapper. Not. And it's funny, if you look through my book, my stuff doesn't rhyme. I'm not good at that at all. So yeah, I can say I've been writing. I wrote my first thing I can remember. It was 8 or 9.
Okay.
But I started writing and holding on to things, like actually keeping things, when I was in my probably early 20s.
Okay. So, yeah. Now, a little sidebar here, but did you get the boy? Did he ever get the poem?
Yes, I did, actually.
All right. Well, and then there you go.
I did.
Just a precursor. She got the boy then. And when you pick up your copy of Letting Go, you will see why, because she is powerful with words, and it started early, as we can see. So our second question here, who would you say influenced you as a writer and why?
So I would say 2 people, actually, a number of people, but 2 main people I can think of off the top of my head. Number 1 is my father. Okay. Because I write because I read a lot. And my father put a book in my hand early in life. I didn't know what books were. I remember, my mom would say I would hold the book upside down. I didn't even know, and my dad would come and put it right side up and help me, point through things and explain things to me. And I was very young, not even putting words together at the time, probably not even saying words. My mom said my dad was really, really instrumental in creating that kind of space for me. So I grew up loving to read. My love of reading led me to poetry. And my favorite author at the time was EE Cummings.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you remember his style of writing, not much punctuation, if any at all, no capitalization. And I do believe that's a lot of the reason why I write the way I do. If you go through my book, very few words are capitalized. The words that I find important, love, God, Black, things like that, beautiful. Those are the words that are capitalized. So I would say those are my 2 biggest influences in writing that started me writing, I would say.
That's very interesting. So words that define a feeling or define a characteristic of an individual or thing that you have a strong connection to, are the words that you're capitalizing instead of using punctuation.
Right.
I see. That's pretty good. I love the fact that your father started you off with books before you could understand the significance of books. And it's a lot of the reason why I give books to kids as gifts.
Absolutely.
You may not think
That
it's
what I'm
great.
gonna do now.
Yes.
Yeah.
But soon you'll see why I gave you this particular book, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's really awesome. Your father saw what he wanted from you and started to build that at an early age. And so now he's getting to see the fruits of those actions, you know,
Yeah.
30 plus years ago.
Plus, a big plus.
Right. And now you are a published author on Amazon. And so now you can hand a book to your father and say, thank you for planting the seed so young.
Maybe not this book, but yeah. Because I am daddy's girl. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, it's not you handing the book. It's
right.
Yes. And if you would like to describe your pseudonym, feel free to go into that at all.
Yeah, we absolutely can't go into that, actually.
Okay. All right.
So my pen name is Carie Strawe. And my mother actually is the one to credit, I would say, for how I came up with Carie Strawe. So my family name is Erica Waters. That is who I am. And if you look at Carie Strawe and you move those letters around, you will come up with that. Mm-hmm. And early on, my mother taught me how to do puzzles, cryptograms. We used to watch Jeopardy together. She would do crosswords. She would do all these amazing things with, letters. And it was just amazing. Like words were just phenomenal to me at that time. So my father started me reading, and my mother, kind of gave me this crazy spin on how to use words to do things, or how to twist them and make them look different. Mm-hmm. So that is how I came up with Carie Strawe. And I always said that if I was to do anything big, if I was to write a book, if I was to star in something, I would want the name Carie Strawe. So when this opportunity came, it was one that I was just like, okay, I already know who, I know who's going to write this. Right. Carie is going to write this.
Right. So I'm hearing a bit of a roadmap started to develop from the early age of your father giving you, a book, and then your mom showing you the power of words, from alliteration to, how you can mix a word that you initially see as one word, but you can change things around and change the meaning and the context of another word. And then you take these words and you merge them together and you come up with something powerful.
Yeah. And I credit them so much for me having that, for me just being mesmerized by that. I still find writers now, I'm just like, oh my God, I wish I had thought of that. It's just so amazing to see the power that words have. And I think it's so important for us. Like, you talk about, you give books to kids. I give books to kids, especially my nephew, to create that love of learning, create that
the expanse of the world.
Yes. And to create that love.
You may not be there yet, but one day you'll visit these places and you'll have in your memory places you've never seen, but now you have a map of a place and you can already feel and taste and experience before you even set foot there. And
being able to communicate also.
Yes.
Just being able to communicate. That was such a huge thing. My mother, growing up, you and I grew up, in the same time, in the same place. And my mother used to always tell me, you're not going to use the slang some of these kids use. I will not allow it. I will not have it. We'll put the ending on words. You will speak, like English, like English.
And not add an S to everything because why?
And she was very adamant about that. She told me, she said, you're not going to always live here. And I'm going to make sure of that. You're going to go places. You're going to do things. And I'm going to make sure of that.
Right.
And so now, going places and being able to talk to anyone from anywhere. I can go back home and talk to people, even though people still ask me, where are you from? You can't be from here. You don't sound like us. I'm like, but being able to talk to anyone and, and being able to just comprehend, varying levels of conversation has just changed so much for my life. I've been in the country, out of the country, different states, and been able to communicate with people and understand them on the level that had my parents not instilled that in me.
They opened doors before the door was in front of you.
Was even there. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay. I love that. I love that. I'm gonna move on here before we get caught up, girl, in the family aspect of things. That's another conversation for another day. So while reading your book, I quickly understood quite vividly the theme and the point of the title, Letting Go. Your poetry speaks to letting go of many things. We're letting go of societal norms. We're letting go of personal constraints. We're letting go of emotional barriers, et cetera, et cetera. How was the theme actually born?
Ooh, life. Like, I don't know any other way to say it, living life. The things that I've dealt with in life, gone through life, and I'm no special individual. I've dealt with the same things other people have dealt with. I've dealt with the same things. A lot of women, a lot of Black women, a lot of military women, a lot of women from the South, just women that have lived in a different place. The things that, and not just women, but people, period. I've dealt with a lot of the things that a lot of people have dealt with. I have, gone through abuse. I've gone through divorce. I've gone through, friends not really being friends. I've gone through beating myself up. I've gone through sacrificing myself, my soul, my heart, my mind for others or for other things or for the military, for my job, for whatever.
Right.
I've gone through, the relationship that I thought was this, but then was that. It's just life.
Right.
And it's owning those experiences, and it's looking back on them and saying, okay, what now? Like not, oh, woe is me, and that sucks so bad, and leaving it there, but okay, yeah, that sucked. What can I learn from it? And now what can I do better? What can I learn from this and make it to where this doesn't happen again to me? Instead of repeating the same cycle.
Yes.
And I truly believe that for us to learn and grow and overcome, to become a better version of ourselves, because I think we're constantly doing that.
Yes.
We have to unlearn some old things.
Yes.
I had to, and when we talk about letting go, I truly believe that in order to learn new things, oftentimes you have to unlearn old things.
Yes.
You have to let go of the things that no longer serve you.
Yes.
And whether that is a thing, a person, a social construct,
yes. All of it.
Yeah, all of it. It's so much that we hold on to because we, either we're taught that or that's all we saw, or, it's just, what is, so-called right.
Right.
No, it's time to let a lot of those things go. Yeah. And I truly believe that for me, wow, that was one hell of a journey, because I can honestly say, I don't think I did that truly, like start understanding that until maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. And it was just, and here I am at 43 now, looking back.
You said it. I did not.
I did say it. We look fabulous. I'm just saying.
I mean, I think so too. But look, if you wear the little gray, I'll fix that soon.
Hey, we rock that proudly. And even then, it's still just those things of letting go of that, letting go of not being okay with the fact that I'm getting older. Getting older is a blessing.
It is.
Because not everybody gets that. No. So there's so much, and I mean every area of life, to just let go of the things that do not serve you.
And by letting go, I would take that to mean not just simply boxing it up and putting it on the shelf,
right?
As some kind of display of, the previous things I've experienced and survived. No, it is not about survival of it. It's about full overcoming.
It's about thriving after that.
Right. Overcoming and thriving. Absolutely. Yep. Because it's great to survive something, but do I really want to survive the same thing over and over again? I do not. I want to survive it, overcome it, and thrive into my next season.
Yeah. And I believe that when we when we get to where we're surviving the same thing over and over, it's because we did not learn from when we survived it last time.
You're in
We
replay.
did not say, okay, yes, let's not go back to that again. And how do we not go back to that again?
Right.
So many of us are scared to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe that is something, again, one of those societal norms or whatever it is that we need to let go of. Because the brain that created the problem is probably not going to be the same brain to solve the problem. There has to be some kind of outside information, at least not in the same state. There has to be some kind of outside information to say, okay, this is where you are. This is where you want to be. Let's close that gap now. What's in between there? What's the gap, that from where you are to where you want to be? To close that gap, there has to be learning. There has to be work. There has to be, things that take place that I call the shadow work, the things that we don't like.
Yes, you got to do the work, and you've got to introduce yourself to your shadow and stop running from it. I mean,
that we have to deconstruct that and now look and say, okay, who am I? Right. And why is this happening? Right. And what is my role in it? We can't just blame other people, because people they do what we allow them to do.
Absolutely.
And so it's about deconstructing that and saying, okay, who am I? And who do I want to be? And now, how do I get to that person? Let me find someone that is there. Let me find someone that's there and just talk to them and say, hey, because I truly believe if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Right.
If you're the most put together person there, okay, find another room.
And if you can't find someone who's already in the place that you're trying to get to, move along, because you need a roadmap sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? Because clearly, if you could make it there on your own, you would have done it.
You would have done it already.
You would have done it
already.
Yeah. So I mean, one of the most profound statements you said, and I may butcher it just a bit, but the same brain that got you here will not be the one that gets you out. And so I think people don't really put that together in context, that if I could have gotten myself from here,
I would have already,
and I wouldn't be repeating it.
Yeah.
So clearly there's something that's being missed that you don't have in your toolbox. Go get your toolbox inventoried so that you can, so you can get the right tools for the particular circumstance. Because the tools you have.
We don't want to feel the hurt. We don't want to feel pain. And growth hurts. Growth is not comfortable.
No.
When you shed that old you, there's some pain that comes with that. But the thing is that the pain is so worth it. There was pain in those pages that I wrote. There were tears on those pages, but it was so worth it. It was so worth it to be who I am now. And not even that I'm that person now. I'm still growing, overcoming, learning, becoming, as we were talking before, just when I was learning about myself and putting this book out and saying, okay, let's not hide behind Carie. Let's put this out here. So yeah.
Girl, that's a powerful, listen.
A lot in that.
I need to replay that. Watch that again. That was very powerful food for the soul right there. And I know a lot of people don't talk in terms of doing the work and knowing your shadow and coming face to face with your shadow, because they don't know that lingo. But we all have multiple sides, and some sides of ourselves come out of the woodworks during certain circumstances and situations, but you need to know all versions of yourself so that you can tame yourself. So I'm really hoping that people who watch this later will come to the realization of self review. Take a look. Take a look,
take inventory of who you are.
Yes.
And what you are allowing to influence you.
Yes.
Because there may be a time for a change.
Yeah. And if you don't know you and you don't know where you're trying to go, then you are apt to be remade and molded in someone else's image repeatedly. And you'll never be your own self.
Absolutely. I love John Maxwell. Like, the man is amazing. And he talks about, being influenced properly and making sure that you are the one writing your story. That you are the one that's writing your story, and that you don't let someone else's influence turn you into them. They don't need, the world doesn't need another whoever. They need a you.
Right.
You don't need to make yourself into be somebody else.
Right.
The world has one of those already.
Right. And
I
think our Father would know if he needed a bunch of, was it Stepford wives, he would have made.
I know, right? Exactly. Like we don't need to be the robotic version of someone else. We need to be us. Right. We need to write our own story. We need to own who we are and own our emotions, own our feelings, own everything about us, and be okay with that. And if you're not okay with it, let's say, okay, why? Why are you not okay with who you are right now? And what steps do you need to take to be okay? And those are the questions that many of us don't. I can't say many of us. I can say from what I've seen, those were the questions that for a long time I didn't want to ask myself. Like, this is who I am, and blah blah blah. Just deal with it. This is me. So either you like it or you don't.
And sometimes we say that with such conviction. In actuality, the person that we are claiming to be is really false.
Not us at all.
That's actually the shadow.
Exactly.
And we're living through that, and instead of being authentic.
And I wouldn't even say it's a shadow. I think we send out, I have a different
representatives, what I call it.
That's what he says. He said you sent out a representative of yourself, not the real you.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even say that's a shadow. It's just it's a false. We look at ourselves through this false lens. I love looking at myself in the mirror and being like, "Girl, you look good." And I look at a picture, I'd be like, "Oh, where them pounds come from?" We see ourselves differently.
Literally, the way you see yourself in the mirror, and then the way you see yourself, like on a social media picture, you're like, "Who is that? That is not who I saw when I walked out the house."
Why did they add that width to me? What is that about? But
angle. Don't ever let this person take a picture of me again.
That is a beautiful representation, though, of how so many of us look at ourselves on a regular basis. We see the best. We look at a mirror, it's like, yes, you got it together. But when you really look at yourself from the outside looking in, it's like, oh, hold up. We got some cracks here. We need to fix this. So.
And you just said something there, and I'm all off the question panel here. You just mentioned the cracks that you aren't paying attention to. And the artistry on the front page of your book is a representation of a piece of art with that had cracks, and these cracks have been fixed during a particular process of bonding with gold.
Gold lacquer. Yeah.
Gold lacquer. So if you wouldn't mind explaining a little bit the thought behind your cover work.
Yeah. So the artist is an absolute, I may be getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry if I am. The artist is an absolutely amazing young lady named Reanna. She actually did this.
It's a beautiful work behind you. I saw that lotus there. Yes.
So this one is done by someone else, but this one was done by Casey. So that one there was done by Casey. And she is so phenomenal. And so when we were talking, we talked about this whole idea of the cracks and how the cracks leak out so many things of us. The cracks that we don't fix, they leak. And we have to close these leaks. We have to fix these leaks that we have in our life so we can be whole again. And I lived in Japan for about 4.5 years while I was in the Marine Corps. And they have this process in Japan called Kintsukuroi. We call it Kintsukuroi because we're American. But it's
we just butcher stuff.
I know, we just butcher it. But it's like the way they say it, if I'm saying it properly, it's Kintsukuroi. And it is translated literally, if I'm golden repair. And so think like this mug, think like a bowl, ceramics. When you drop it, it breaks. Now, to many of us, you drop it, it breaks. That's the end of it. You throw it away. But they look at it as broken is better than new. So they will take that piece, they will fix it with gold lacquer. And according to them now, this broken piece now has so much more beauty because of the break, because the break didn't kill it. Because the break now has given it a whole new story. That's how they look at it. And so when I was talking, Casey and I we were just vibing and talking, about, the vision for this and what my thoughts were. And then what she saw, based on what I was telling her. And so the cover work, which is also the piece, the title piece for Letting Go, is the hand that you see there that has the Kintsukuroi effect there. And that goes to the book. So it's the title piece, Letting Go, of course, the cover art. It's also in Black Don't Crack. And that was, I want to say that was the first piece she did. And I was just looking, I'm just like, oh, like I remember she showed it to me and I cried, like just tears.
Wow. Yeah.
Because it was so powerful to me. And she is just phenomenal. She took every word for every piece that she did. She just took the words and painted what she saw. And it just turned out beautifully. I could not have asked for a better artistic partner.
Very powerful artwork all throughout.
Phenomenal. Her info is in my book, Reanna. She's absolutely fantastic.
I will ensure that we put that in the footer notes of the video here. In case
her email is in here.
Yes.
And she also, you can get prints of the art from the book, actually. So yeah, you can reach out to her. Yeah, she's absolutely amazing.
Very good to know. And so we'll move on because we did go a little stuck. What was your selection process for culling down your current catalog to bring these particular poems together? Because I know we did a little pre-speak before the interview.
Yeah.
And I know you have a lot, and you have been saving your poems, like you mentioned earlier, since your 20s. So that's 20 plus years of, putting your heart, your soul, your mind into poem. So how did you call through your catalog to come up with these particular selections? Because they do tell a story.
They do. And I have to credit my publisher for the placement of them. Okay. He's absolutely phenomenal. His name is Chad Robertson. He's with Writing Nights. Absolutely phenomenal individual. And you talk about a man that is a wordsmith. Wow. Wow. So I think the funny thing is that when you say 20 years of writing, I only had maybe 20, 30 pieces when I initially was going through this. There was a long period of time where I didn't write, which is funny because I am emotionally charged to write. Something happens and I'm like, ooh. And it's like the way I describe it, they're like, and it sounds so crazy, but they're words that tumble in my head and I'm just like, I got to get them out. So I'll grab my phone and put something in notes. It could be just a sentence. And then later it turns into something bigger. I have a lot of unfinished pieces that I'm like, I gotta wait for the words to tumble again.
Yeah.
And so there was a time where I didn't write for a while. So I didn't have this expansive catalog. So when I sat down and say, okay, what's going to go in this book? Because initially it was supposed to be just one book. Which is something that I really haven't said a whole lot, but it was supposed to be one book. Like this book was going to be put out. I was just doing it because I said I was doing it. I really didn't care if anybody bought it initially. It'll be all right. I just wanted to do it because I said I was going to do it. And I had maybe somewhere between 35 to maybe 40 pieces. And I was just like, I'm just going to put them all in one book. And then I started looking at poetry books and, kind of what I want my book to look like, because, even though I'm just doing it for me, I still want it to be, representative. I want it to be nice. I want it to be, And so then I started looking and I don't remember what book it was, but it had all these poetry. I'm like, oh my God, this is way too much. I can't put like 40 in one book. This is insane. And so I'm like, okay, so now I have to whittle it down. And I went through and I picked the ones that at that moment spoke to me. Like I literally had all the titles there and I said, okay. And I just went through and I like that one, that one, that one. And can I say that there was a particular rhyme or reason for it? I can't.
Oh, okay.
I just know that when I sat and I thought about letting go, what does that mean to me? How does this, and that matter of fact, at that moment, letting go, the actual title piece wasn't even written yet. So when I went through, it was like, okay, this means that, this means that, this means like, yes, like all of this gives me that feeling of something I let go. Whether it was some kind of, whatever it was, just something that I had to let go of. And what does that mean? And how does that make me feel? And those were the pieces that I chose. Wow. And it was actually after that process that I wrote Letting Go. Like I wrote the title piece. So the title piece was written as soon as I came up with the title, which a dear friend helped me do that.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, okay. And then I was just like, but what am I letting go of? And then that's when the title piece was written.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was just the whole process. It's hard to put.
It sounds like the process was indeed a process, you know.
It was, but it was a hard process.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that, okay, this is step 1, step 2, step 3, and this is how I'm going to do it. It was just, this is how I feel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is what's next.
Mm-hmm.
And the beautiful thing about that is I'm just so, I feel like I kind of feel overwhelmed thinking about it, because I was like, okay, one book and I'm done, and that's just what I'm doing because I said I would do it. But then I had these other pieces. I was like, well, you know, I don't ever have to share these. It'll be fine. But then I kept writing. And I kept writing. And I was like, okay, I have enough for a second book. All right, we'll do a second one. And then I kept writing.
Yeah.
So right now, there is a plan for 2 more books.
Wow.
Which is the first time I've said that out loud. So there you got it first.
Look at that. And exclusive right just for you. Hey, dear blog followers.
I kept writing, and it was one of those things that I was just like, like this feels good. I'm going to keep writing, and I'm going to keep writing until it doesn't feel good anymore, or until I feel like I've said what I need to say, you know. But I'm just so that every day things happen, and I'm just like, ooh, like, okay. Mm-hmm. And the words will tumble again. Coming out. Yeah. Right. And so now I'm to the point I have enough for 2 more books. And I didn't want to make letting go some massive thing. One of the ladies that I was speaking with at a book club event yesterday that we talked about, she said, you know, I just wanted more. And I was like, that's the whole point though. Like that's the whole point. Yeah. I don't want you to read it and be like, oh my God, when is she going to shut up? Or
read and be like, I'm full, you know, thank you so much. But no, leave that a little bit for some dessert and for, you know, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I told her that's the whole point. I wanted you to read it and say, wow, okay. I would read more from this person. And that's it. And now, again, what turned into just a one and done, I just want to do it because I said I would do it. It doesn't matter. It's amazing how you can touch people. Like, you know, we talked about before, the power of words. And this woman walked up to me and she said, you know, I was holding on to so much. She said, and truly, she said, reading your book, she said, just that first piece, that letting go. She said, so much just released in me. She said, and I'm so grateful. And I'm just like in tears. She's in tears. Yes. Like, but it's a beautiful thing. And why wouldn't I want to do more of that?
Yes, yes. So, I think a lot of people are walking around so full and they have no idea how to release the pressure valve. And because words are so powerful, art itself is powerful. You know, it could be the visual art. It could be the spoken word. It could be, you know, I don't know, a frequency from a certain sound of music. And you will feel a releasing of that pressure valve. And that is what so many of us are just waiting for, the thing that resonates with us to the point of release. And it sounds to me...
I'm sorry, keep going. I'm sorry.
No, I couldn't hear you. I said, it sounds to me like your book, unbeknownst to you, released some of your pressure, but it's releasing others as well. And so it's healing people. And for you, we're just like, well, I said I was going to do it. I'm going to get it done, you know, and it turned into a process that you're doing by feeling, by emotion, rather than a checklist, you know. So it evolved, and now it's doing the work of healing people who allow the pieces to heal the places that are broken spaces. So, you know, I kudos to you, Chika.
Thank you.
Kudos to you. So, yeah, I think we probably hit on one of my other questions, but we will see. Let's discuss the choice of visual art expressed in your book. Who was your featured artist, and how did you two develop the visual representation of your words? Of course, we've gone into that, but if you would like to further elaborate.
So Casey is just a beautiful artistic soul. She is beautiful inside and out.
Mhm.
And the funny thing about Casey is that Casey is an amazing singer.
Wow.
Casey sings.
Full artist.
And Casey painted to fund her album, which is how I ended up with that. That's how I ended up with this piece.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, hey, I'm trying to fund my EP. You know, I'm going to sell my paintings. And I'm like, I didn't even know you painted. And so you paint? And so I was like, I need that lotus in my life. I love lotus. I have tattoos of them. I have jewelry. Like what I'm wearing now is a huge lotus. I love lotus flowers just for what they represent.
And for a lot of people who have no idea why the lotus is so significant, not just to many religions, but to a lot of people who are seeking greater spiritual growth, release, and peace in their spaces, the lotus is a very beautiful flower that grows through very disgusting environments.
Absolutely.
Straight up and out the mud.
Perfect. It looks untouched, unscathed.
Yes.
And when I learned that, it really became, you know, for the things that I was going through in my life at that time, it became something that I gravitated towards. People that know me know I'm not a huge flower person. Will I stop and smell flowers? I think they're beautiful, yes. But I kill things. And so I don't grow things. I don't do that. I don't do that at all.
I got some cactus behind me, and I swear at one point I killed all 3 of them babies, and I had to bring them back. Christmas cactus at that. I feel so bad.
But so I got this from her, and when I got ready to do this book, because that was long before, you know, a book was even a thought, and so I got it from her, and I'm like, okay, who do I want to do this art? Like, you know, when I said I wanted to do a book, I've read a lot of poetry. I have a ton of them on I keep looking at it as my bookshelf, both of them. I have a ton of poetry, and I was like, I don't want it to be just words though. Right. I want there to be a visual representation. Like I want to do an audiobook. I want there to be music behind me. I don't want it to be just my words, because I think it's an entire experience. It's a sensory experience. And so I initially wanted my tattoo artist. Those that know me know I have a lot of tattoos. I have about 13 now. And I wanted to reach out to my tattoo artist. And this is how God works. God, universe, whatever you believe in. I believe in God. This is how I believe God works. So the way I found my publisher, the way I got my artist, I was thinking about this book and like, what do I want? And I was trying to get a hold of my tattoo artist. For some reason, I could not reach him. He did not respond. And a dear friend of mine was like, hey, why don't you reach out to your little sister? I call Casey my little sister. And he's like, why don't you reach out to her? And I'm like, yeah, she's on my list. But he's like, no, I think you should call her. It doesn't sound like this whole, you know, the person you're looking for is going to work out. And so I'm like, and I wanted to wait, give it a little bit more time, because I really wanted him to do it. And
your heart set on somebody.
And I called her, and again, she's phenomenal, but he was my first choice. And so I called her up and said, hey, you know, I don't know if there's something you would even be interested in, but this is what I'm looking to do, and I want art. And I'm talking to her, and she's just like, okay. And she sounded a little. I'm like, okay, this is not good.
Where are you going with this?
Well, I'm like, yeah, but I want you to do the art for my book. And it got really quiet. And then she starts crying. And I'm like, okay, what just happened? And she says, I don't think you understand. I've been praying for a project to do. She said, I want to be a full-time artist. And I've been praying for a project to put my name out there. She said, and then you call. And I'm like, oh, okay. So now I'm crying. And she's crying. And we're just on the phone like, you know, you get that little ugly cry.
Words,
it was just a beautiful thing. And the process of her and I've known Casey for a very long time, actually. I met Casey when she was a teenager. And her mother and I were both stationed in Japan at the same time.
Oh, wow.
And we went to church together. And so I met Casey there. And Casey was, for some reason, teenagers flocked to me. I don't know why. I think it's awesome. I love it. And so she was one of the teenagers that, kind of hung out with me, and, we went places, did stuff. And so I've known her since she was a teenager. And now she is a grown woman doing wonderful things. And she's so, so talented and so gifted. And so the process with us, we got on Zoom, and first we just caught up because it was like, oh my God, where have you been? What you been doing? And she's like, a book, like, wait a minute, like, what in the world? So we're talking through this whole thing, and, and she's just getting a feel for me, and I'm getting a feel for her again. And she's like, well, talk to me, like, what's in this book? And I'm like, I don't know yet. Poetry. And she goes, okay. She goes, have you written it? I'm like, actually, the book is almost fully written. She's like, oh my God. Like, okay, so this is okay.
Yeah, like this is, yeah.
Yeah, she was like, read me something. And so I did. And she goes, oh. And then she starts sketching. And I see her arm going. And I'm just like, well, what I do? And she's like, I already see it. And I'm like, and she's like, what's the title? And I'm like, letting go. And this is what that means to me. And she's like, oh. And she's just sitting there. She's just soaking it in. And she was like, and she's recording our Zoom. And so we get to talking, and she's like, okay, I need you to record, the pieces that you want me to do. And it was so awesome because I initially asked her to do like 5 or 6. If you look through the book, you see she's done like 12.
The art, and I don't know if you recall, when I described my process of reviewing the book, but I reviewed all of the art first.
Yes, you did tell me that.
And then I read the words, because when I got to the very first piece of art, and I want to say memory, it was the American flag, I want to say. And that first piece of art, yes. And I was like, wow, wait, is this what I'm in store for throughout the book? Yeah. So I stopped reading and I looked through all the pictures, and I was like, oh, wow. Someone took her words and processed it all and saw it this way. Yeah, this is going to be powerful. This is going to be something. And so that was my process of reviewing the book.
Yeah, she just did absolute magic in taking my words and making them visual. And I cannot, I mean, that was truly just inspired.
That was divine connection right there, because like you said, you had other people who connected you all. If you hear sneezing in the background, that's our pup Sasha. She has allergies.
It was a beautiful experience going through this with her. And she would send me art, and it was so awesome because she would send it in, and she's just like, are you okay? Do you like it? And I'm like, give me a second. And here she is thinking, I don't like it. And I'm on the other end crying.
Right. Oh my God.
Do you like it? I'm like it. I'm like, Casey, what is wrong with you? I'm like, over here in tears. And she was like, is it that bad? I'm like, no,
sweetheart.
No. Like, what are you thinking? This is the most beautiful thing. And it was everything she sent me, it was, like, just, I could look at it, and she didn't even have to tell me what piece it was for. I'm like, I know exactly what piece this is for. Right. Like, I know it, and I can see it. And it's like, I could tell the story simply by looking at that picture. And it was just amazing.
That was an outstanding, divinely connected a partnership between the two of you to come up with it, and to know that you've known her throughout her developmental years to her adult years. I think that says a lot about how divinely we can become connected to people, not knowing how later in life they will play a role in our life and our growth.
Absolutely. Had anyone said that, I would be like, no, like, come on.
Yeah, right.
Not at all.
We never know. You just got to be open. You just never know how things work out in the end. So absolutely. I think it was a absolutely wonderful connection. She did an outstanding job. And I think in something I posted I hope the art comes out in like a postcard collection or something.
Yeah. So I did pass that on to her, by the way.
Oh, okay. I was like, everybody should have these, like a book of just the art, inspired by Letting Go, or the trilogy of, whatever.
I don't know what's gonna happen like that. I don't know what the next titles are gonna be yet. I don't know.
Right? So, the Carie Strawe trilogy, the art book,
yeah, she's just phenomenal. I told her like seriously, like this is crazy. And so I bought all the originals from her, so nobody can get those.
Look, and if you guys have like an artist space or a exhibition where the art is everywhere and you're reading, I think that will be pretty fun, and I may fly somewhere. I don't know.
Well, that's actually part of the reason why I bought all the originals. I was like, okay, I can actually take these with me, if it comes to something like that.
So it'll definitely be an immersive event, with the music and the reading and the art. And
it was just such an amazing thing. And when I found out she actually painted them like on canvas, I'm like, wait, you didn't draw these painting? Yeah, so they are paintings like on canvas. Okay. And I was just like, I need all of them.
Yeah.
And I need them all. And she's like, okay. And so I commissioned her for the stuff in the book, for the art in the book, but I bought all the originals too. I was like, I need them. So yeah.
That's a representation of your words. You gotta have it and surround yourself with it, because I'm sure it feeds into that artistry, like bubble that's calling up inside of you, like to come up with your next thing. So
I'm so excited to work with her again. And one of the things that we talked about, and I told her, I said, I want your name on the cover, and she's just like, the cover. I said, because this is a whole experience, and it's about the art as well. And she's just like, I'm gonna pass out. I'm like, okay, but hang up.
Make sure you're already sitting down.
Call me when you wake up.
Oh my God.
Amazing. She's so humble, so amazing, and I am so excited to work with her again. And I've already told her, like, hey, I'm gonna need you for these next ones. And she's like, you're
my artist. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm using the same artist. I'm using the same publisher. The publisher was actually another, I used to say divine intervention that happened, because when I finally said, and I truly believe that when you open your mind to something, doors open.
Yeah.
When you say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and you have purpose, that things happen. Things are now put in motion where doors open. You see solutions to problems that you didn't see before, because you were willing to open your mind to it.
Yes.
And so when I was grabbed by the shoulders and pretty much shook and said, listen, you need to write this book. Like, this book needs to go. Like, this needs to happen. A friend of mine did that to me. And so I was just like, okay, I'm going to write the book. I'm going to do a book. And I'm just like, okay. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, but wait, how do we do this? Like, I don't know anything about this. Do you call Amazon? Does Amazon have a phone number? Like, what do you do? Like, how do I get my book there? Or do I just call Barnes and Noble and say, hey, will you take my book? Like, what do I do? A friend of mine, she's awesome. She wrote a book, and she puts it out. She goes, I wrote this book, and it was, on the spiritual realm. And I got her book, and I'm like, yo, this is really nice. And so I sat there and was like, huh. So I called her up, because she's right here, we're friends. I called her up. I said, okay, number one, your book is awesome. I have it. And she's like, oh, thank you. I was like, how did you do it? She's like, what do you mean? I said, like, how did you do it? Like, who made this book? And she goes, she said, I got a publisher. I'm like, who is this person? And she was like, he's great. And so she gives me his info. And I was just sitting there like, wow.
That is.
That's how that happened. And it was a simple, and I called him up. And I said, this is who my friend is. She wrote a book. You publish it? He goes, oh, yeah. He said, yeah, she's great. I'm like, she is. She said, you're great. And he goes, okay. And I'm like, I had this thought. And at the time, I was just kind of all over the place. I didn't know exactly what I wanted. And I'm like, okay, I have this thought. I want to do a book. This is what I do know. And so we got on a Zoom call, and he went through, I think he spent about 30, 40 minutes on a Zoom with me, just saying, hey, here's some things you may want to consider. You know, here's the things I can help you with.
Like streamline your thoughts. Yeah.
And when I got off with him, I said, okay, you know, let me think about it. And I made it very clear, like, hey, I'm not like trying to hire you to do this right now. I just want to talk and find out if this is something I can do with you. And he was like, okay. And he was so great. And so I got off that call and kind of streamlined some of my thoughts. And I emailed him back and said, okay, this is what I'm thinking, this, that, and the other. And he's like, okay, that's great, but I can't really do anything further until you hire me. And I'm like,
oh yeah, that part.
and he's just like, okay, but you know, kind of like, I'm not a
right now. He has a really great ear, a listening ear.
And so I was just like, okay. And it was like, I promised a split second. I said, okay, let me get back with you. And the next, I want to say it may have been a day or so, I emailed him and said, okay, I would like to hire you to do this. And I felt like it wasn't me typing. Like, I'm like, like, oh my God, I'm doing this. And he emails me back right away and says, okay, great. Here are, you know, the things that I can do for you. Choose what you like. And then we can, because I was just like, well, how do I know, you know, because he had already talked to me about what it looks like, what it costs. And it definitely wasn't as much as I thought it would be, because I'm like, I don't even know if I can do this. And I'm like, oh, I can so do this. Like, oh my gosh. And so I'm one of those people that I pay for my time. Like, I want you to do it all, so I don't have to do anything. My time is more important, and you're the expert. So there you go. That's what you do. So I literally, he was like, okay. And I sent him the money right away. And as soon as I sent it, I was like, did I just do that? I did just do that.
Hey, and I remember something in motion here. Oh my God.
Yeah. I remember I sat down and I was like, oh my God, what have I done? Like, what have I done? Like, oh.
Can't pull it back.
I'm like, okay.
You are so dramatic.
I am. I so am. And you've known me for decades now. I have not changed in that.
Oh my God.
I'm just like, oh my gosh. So yeah, so I did it. And the funny thing is I'll tell you how short this was. This happened in April. The conversation I had with him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you mentioned it.
And the book came out in June.
Oh, girl, when you mentioned it, I was like, what's happening? She's mentioned this. Yeah. I didn't know that you had just gotten this ball rolling.
It had just started. And so that was like April timeframe. And in that time, from April to close to the end of June, when the book came out, I got the artist, we did the art. I'm sending him stuff. Like, it was,
wow.
It was insane. And people, you know, like you would say, oh, well, you had all the stuff written. Some of that stuff was written 20 years ago, but some of it was literally sent where he was like emailing me, Erica, I need the last set of stuff right now. And I'm like, I got 2 pieces. He's like, are you kidding me? I was like, give me till 9 a.m. He's like, oh my goodness.
I mean, you cannot rush this, okay?
Yeah, he was just like, okay. And he was like, are you sure you're going to have it? I was like, they will. No idea. And so it's funny, those last 2 pieces were Kintsukuroi and Kintsukuroi Explained. I was like, I have to have these in there. Like, the book makes no sense if I don't have these in here. And he was like, I've read your book. It makes sense. I'm like, no.
No. I mean, it definitely needed the beginning and ending bookmark of that concept.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us have no idea of what that is.
He was so great because he took that. And when I tell you, that man did a beautiful turnaround. The way the book looks. And granted, we talked back and forth, and he was like, well, tell me who Carie is, you know, what do you see? And he took my words and just, oh my goodness, turned them into something amazing. It's like, I gave him all the ingredients and mixed it up, and he took it and was like, let me add a little this and a little this.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful cake.
Like grandma in the kitchen with no measuring cups.
With no recipe, no measuring, little pinches.
Yeah.
He's phenomenal. Chad and Robinson is absolutely amazing.
Appreciate you, Chad. Appreciate you. We'll have that information in the show notes as well. I do have one final question, and I know we kind of talked about it a little bit before we went into recording here, but as of late, because you have the book that came out right at the beginning of summer, so you've been, marketing and advertising and on the road, you've had some speaker series in different cities and towns. Vegas, San Diego, Memphis.
There's some open mics there. Yeah.
Yes. So you've been out there, pounding the pavement, and so how has it been experiencing your words being experienced by others?
Ooh. I love words, but the words escape me for that. It's been life-changing, to say the least. To hear someone walk up to me and say, hey, this particular poem, and I went to this event yesterday, and women walked in with, because it was, and I say women because it was called Circle of Sisters book club. So it was all women at this event, and they walked in with their books tabbed.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Tabs. I mean, like colorful tabs across the top and down the side.
Yes.
And I, like, the first one walked in, and I started with tears, and I'm just like, okay, I can't, because I actually put on face that day, and I'm like, okay. Like, we can't ready. And she's like, what's up? And I look at her and I go, and I shook her hand. I said, I'm Carie. And she went, oh, and she grabs me and she hugs me. And I'm like, oh, and now I can't handle it. Oh. And she just looks and she goes, I cannot believe, like, it's you. And I'm like, yeah, it's me. Like, and she was like, your words have just touched my life in such a beautiful way. She said, I'm going through, a divorce. I'm going through this and this, that. And I'm like, yeah, I went through that too. Like, I hear you. Like, I hear you. I see you. Mm-hmm. And for us, we need, and not just us, everyone, it is so important for just us as people to have a safe space to speak our emotions and our thoughts, and to have someone to truly see us. So often we can go through this life wondering if we're really being seen. And when I can create something where someone will look at me and go, for the first time I felt seen, and I'm just like, oh, you can't put that in words. That's a whole nother level of being able to just help other people, to help them realize, hey, maybe I do need to let some things go. Or, hey, you know what? That last relationship, I didn't need it, but I did learn from it. I didn't need to stay in that, but I learned from it. Or, this thing that I've been holding on to since I was little was holding me back, and I was playing the victim. And now I know I can step out of that, or, hey, I've never done this thing and now I want to do it. Like, awesome, go live. You can't put a price tag on that. And it's hard for me to put words to that. And so it's a beautiful thing to go somewhere and have people go, that got me, that touched me, that meant something to me, that added some kind of value to my life. And that's the whole point, to add value. For me, in my life, if I'm not adding value to something or to someone, what am I doing? That's for me. That's how I feel. And so this book, I would hope that it would be a value add to anyone that touches it, whether you get all of it or not. Because when she's like, yeah, I was kind of like, but this part, oh my gosh, I'm like, great, you got something though. Mm-hmm. So,
because some parts are written for other phases of a person's life, so you get what's meant for you out of it.
Exactly.
And this person will get what's meant for them out of it.
Yeah.
That's an outstanding story about the effect that it's had on just that book club, but yourself, to see that they came in ready, honey, with tabs and highlights and
in the margin. Yes. This woman told me her book. I was like, honey, you wrote more than I did.
Yeah. Yes, because words have power. And I guess, sometimes we'll say some things and they sound good coming out, but the person receiving it, they're like, can you repeat that? Right. I have that happen quite often. And I'm like, actually, no, I can't. It was a one-time good deal. Like it flowed so well that I cannot even repeat it the same way again. Because of the power that came from it means it was meant to be heard when I said it at the time, you know, but when you put that word in print, you're hitting more and more people. So it's a great thing that you write and record all the time, because you could lose that powerful message just by driving down the street, you know.
Absolutely. There are so many things that should have been written that aren't, because I go, wait, I lost it.
Yes. I do that. Yes.
It's like, all right, I'll just wait.
Maybe it'll come back again, you know, but it'll never come back in the same way with the same power that it came through the first time. And you're just like, I'll forever be changed by that sentence that I'll never be able to speak it again.
Yeah, that's how it goes. It's like, all right, I'll just
gotta let it go.
It'll be okay. Let it go. I know. Let it go.
Well, I have so enjoyed our time together. I don't want to hold you any longer, I promise, but I do want to give you a chance to highlight your social media.
Yes.
How can people find you on IG, Facebook? Go for it.
Yeah. So the book is on Amazon.com. That's the first thing. And please be sure to look at the right. So there are 2 listings of the book. One says out of production. That's the old black and white. Okay. There's another one that is color. The book on Amazon is $29.99. The Kindle is $9.99. If you're going to review the book, be sure to review it under that one, not the one that's out of print. Mm-hmm. I am on Facebook as Carie Strawe, CARIE STRAWE. Mm-hmm. I am on Instagram at I am Carie Strawe. I now have a website, cariestrawe.com. If you buy the book on cariestrawe.com, it does cost a little more, but I do sign it, write a message in there to you. It gets sent to you in this little cool polymer bag. It's really cool. And there is an email also to connect with Carie, cariestrawe@gmail.com. There is a contest happening right now. So if you have the book, if you've bought the book, read it, review it on Amazon, again, under the color version, and send me an email. Because sometimes people, Amazon names, like I don't know everyone on Amazon. Mm-hmm. So if you review it on Amazon, please send me an email with contest or something. Just let me know you reviewed the book and your name. So that way, if you are chosen to win in the contest, I know how to reach you. And what you can win is a print of your choice of art from the book. So if you like Black Don't Crack, if you're chosen, you can say, hey, this is the one I want. I will get that print and have it sent out to you. And I will have Casey and I will both sign it. Okay. And she is absolutely excited about that.
Does Casey have social media that you would like to share?
Yes, I always have to look it up to make sure I get it right. Okay. But yes, Casey, you can reach out to Casey and order art, or she can just paint something special for you if you like. Casey Reanna at gmail.com, CASEYREANNA at gmail.com. And she is also on Instagram and Facebook, I believe, as Casey Reanna. So yeah, absolutely amazing artist she is.
Well, and last, to close us out, I would just love it if you would read one of your selections for us to close out our chat here.
Okay. Which one would you like?
Your choice. Just PG.
Oh my goodness, my choice. Okay.
No, just PG.
PG for sure. Okay.
Look at
that. Yeah. All right. So I will. You know what? You've mentioned Black Don't Crack a few times. So we can do that one if you like. And I'm going to read it straight from the book.
All right.
I have mine here. So Black Don't Crack was actually written with all the unrest that has happened when you look at these situations: George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Sandra Bland, Elijah McClain, the children that were horribly abused in schools. You know, the young, I think it was a young lady that was snatched out of her seat in a high school. You know, kids at a pool party being treated, you know, just horribly. So many things have happened with that, and it pushed me to write this. And just thinking of all the the instances. That's where this came from. I was absolutely in my emotions. It was one of those where there were tear-stained pages, writing this because, we have that adage of black don't crack, and we take it as, oh yeah, we always look good, which we do. But there are times when black does crack, and it's when it's treated incorrectly. So that's what this is, and this is Black Don't Crack. Black don't crack is an old adage that I've heard my whole life. And quite honestly, it's true. Most Black men and women barely age, and when they do, it's done so gracefully that you often question if it really happened. Black don't crack for the grandmother that's out with her grandbabies and she's mistaken for their mother. Black don't crack for the man with his son who is mistaken for his big brother. Black don't crack for me, having a conversation with a white woman who was giving me her sage advice, saying that many young ladies like me will wish we had taken better care of our skin by the time we reach her age, mid-40s, she told me. My response, lady, I'm 42 years old, but thanks for the advice. Black don't crack until it does. Black don't crack until it's being followed around a convenience store because a large Black man is clearly a threat for no other reason than he is a large Black man. Black don't crack until it's pulled over by an overzealous cop who has absolutely no excuse to overreact except for the, fact that he feared for his life. All because she had the audacity to ask, why am I being pulled over? Black don't crack until it's walking home late one night, minding its own business, but someone deems them sketchy looking. And there goes another crack. When Black does crack, the sound is one that has reverberated through centuries. Fissures that have yet to be corrected, fixed, or filled in. When Black does crack, those crevices release the wretched sounds of slavery, Jim Crow, lynchings, segregation, and racism, the sounds of bombs over Tulsa, Rosewood, and the tearing down of Black culture. The creation of these cracks has become commonplace. But a warning to those that continue to perpetuate these foundational errors. You will pay for your deeds, and those cracks will eventually swallow you whole. Thank you.
Yes. I read that and I remember, correlating the person,
the
unnamed, with the actual incidents. And it just was overwhelming to my senses. Even though I knew all about it, it's still overwhelming to the senses. Elijah, play violin to cats in foster care or, in the vet, waiting to be adopted. I just, my mind just doesn't process how our world is devolved in the way that it has. But I appreciate
how to say it's evolved, the way it's regressed. It's a crazy thing to think about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where you sit and go, have we really learned anything?
Right.
Have we really learned from the mistakes of our past?
Right.
Have we really learned from the decisions of others, that did these horrible things?
I saw on Facebook one comment, and I can't remember. I think it has to do with the critical race theory argument. And one lady posted, and I'm assuming she was an elderly white lady based off of the icon, and she said, it's sad that, we're still concerned about something that happened over 100 years ago. And I'm sitting and thinking, but we still celebrate July 4th.
Yeah.
There are things that we celebrate and focus on that are far more than over 100 years ago old.
Yeah.
But that was your response to understanding the racial divide the racial tension that is America.
Yeah.
So
people
yeah,
see what they want to see. And this piece was really big to me. Matter of fact, if you go on my Instagram, the first thing I ever posted on Instagram was a video, and I think you've seen it. A video that a friend of mine put together for Black Don't Crack.
It's very powerful.
Yeah, to this day, I cannot watch it all the way through without like.
Correct. Yeah. I have not been able to watch it all the way through.
It's hard.
And we will link that also to the show notes for those who would like to watch it.
Yeah, he did an absolutely amazing job in capturing.
Yes, he did.
The things that I was talking about, and because he did such an amazing job in capturing it, it's very difficult.
Yes.
To watch and not get feel the emotions. So yeah.
Madam, I appreciate you so much for your time, so much for your talent, so much for your energy on this day and every day. I appreciate the words that you have been allowed by the divine creator to put out into the universe. And I appreciate that it is being received by those who need what you have had to say, and using it to indeed fill those cracks. I won't even attempt to butcher the Japanese term, but we understand that your words are being used in the same fashion as that gold mending was and has been used by the Japanese culture to remend the broken and made it new and more worthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am going to leave you guys with those words. This is your girl, Memphis Jones from Hey Dear Blog, doing another interactive interview with Carie Strawe of her book of poetry, Letting Go. Hope that you guys grab a copy and enjoy the words and the colorful art that is so well capturing of her words. You guys have an awesome day, and we'll talk to you on our next one. Laters.